What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Monday Night Mic'd. I am your host, John Quinn, and what a show we have for you this week. Fresh off his first day of training camp, hockey is back. Of course, training camp opened today across the NHL for all the play-in teams, and we have Nathan Beaulieu of the Winnipeg Jets coming up in just a few moments. On the other side of the interview, we will hear from current Sea Dog Anderson MacDonald as well. We'll play a fun game with him, talk a little bit about hockey movies. I'm sure everyone has watched every hockey movie on the planet here in the last 4 or 5 months or so. So we'll hear Anderson's thoughts on the season that was and have some fun with him as well. But first, we do have our interview with Nathan Beaulieu coming right up. Just a few quick notes about things going on around the league and the team. Some of our newly drafted players have received a couple of their jerseys. I don't know if you saw those photos on social media. We had Simon Hughes here getting his delivered from fellow Islander Charlie DeRush. Looking good there, fellas. And then Leighton Carruthers, Hunter Gardley, Cam MacDonald were all able to stop by the dressing room recently and pick up their jerseys and get a tour of the facilities as well. Of course, the season being cut short, they weren't able to stop by before the season ended or after the draft come in. But now that we have the precious Atlantic bubble, they were able to come and check out their new home for the next couple of years. Hopefully we get to see more of our new players and returning players making their way to TD Station sooner rather than later. You'll see behind me I have my mirrored here, my Josh Allen jersey up. That's for Nathan Beaulieu for his time in Buffalo. I wanted to give him a little shout out, and I'm a diehard Bills fan. Go Bills Mafia. Other notes outside of Nathan Beaulieu, some other Sea Dogs alumni were invited to NHL camps. Like I said, for the camps that opened up today. So Boston had Charlie Coyle and Jakob Zaboral, Matthew Highmore with the Chicago Blackhawks, Jonathan Huberdeau and Mike Hoffman with the Panthers, Julian Gauthier with the Rangers, Alex Dorio got called up and is going to be with the Penguins for training camp. I think he's been there for a little bit training with them on the ice and stuff. They got a bit of a goalie shortage there, so good opportunity for Dorio. And then Matthew Joseph with Tampa Bay, and then of course Nathan Beaulieu with the Jets. Outside of that, I don't have much to share with you, but I do want to get to our interview with Nathan Beaulieu. So without further ado, let's bring it up. Fans, it's my absolute pleasure to be joined by Sea Dog alumni number 28, Nathan Beaulieu. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited.
No problem. Big day for you. You're back into training camp with the Winnipeg Jets, and you were saying that they got you in there pretty early. Talk to me about the first day of camp.
Yeah, obviously it's a weird situation we're going through right now. So it's not the normal training camp that you usually go through where there's, a crowd of people and, people watching you and soaking it all in. And it's, kind of small groups going together, wearing masks and social distancing and trying to, prevent any sickness that can get into the locker room. So they got us in there this morning. It was a nice, easy skate and just kind of try to keep it simple and ramp things up closer to.
Nice. It must have felt at least a little bit normal, kind of getting back into that routine of being at the rink, seeing the guys, etc., after being away for so long.
Yeah, just getting on the ice, being able to skate with a group of guys was nice. Obviously, before that, if guys got any opportunity to skate, it was with one or two people. So that was nice having a kind of a group session and just being around the guys. I think that's what we missed the most. And this pause has been so weird and not knowing if the season was going to come back or we were going to start fresh. So just seeing the guys all come back and sharing stories and just back to normal.
Now, have you been in Winnipeg kind of this whole time? Do you live there year round, or did you just come back just for training camp?
No, I came back from training camp. We had this. We're still continuing our 14-day quarantine that we're on. But once we got news that training camp was going to start around the 13th, I got out here the 30th to try to beat it. And ever since then, it's just been kind of ramping it up, getting ready for training camp, and just kind of quarantining in my condo.
Nice. Well, I want to jump back all the way to the kind of Sea Dogs years, and first thing I noticed was right before the Sea Dogs years that you actually played AAA in St. John before even coming into the Q. Can you talk about how that came to be, how you wound up in St. John before kind of even getting drafted here?
Yeah, my dad actually got a job there, so my family moved, and I eventually played Bantam and midget there. I played Bantam out in KV. So I played 2 years before I was drafted to Sea Dogs, and then I played 16, 17, 18, 19 in St. John.
Cool. And then getting drafted to St. John after being there, 2 or 3 years already. What was that like, kind of knowing that you were going to play for what is now kind of your hometown team?
Well, I was obviously really excited. I still spend a lot of time in St. John. I come back at least once a year. It's still a place that's very close to my heart. A lot of memories there. A lot of people I still keep in contact with. So um, playing there was obviously an honor. We had such a good group of guys and a lot of guys that I still keep in contact with to this day. So we had a special couple of years there in St. John, and I was very fortunate to play on such a good team.
And when you started playing with St. John, it was under your dad as the head coach and GM, and obviously he's been a big part of your kind of hockey career before that and after that. As someone who my dad was always the coach growing up in basketball and baseball, and it's kind of all I've known was playing under my dad. I think I maybe had one other coach in my career, but how was that growing up? And once you get into that really competitive level, I mean, for me, I played like house league baseball. It wasn't anything even close, but it is different, kind of having that father figure right there during the game. What was that like for you growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're just kind of. I grew up into it, kind of like you said, so it wasn't really that weird for me. It's not for everybody. I think it's kind of a how you take it situation. I was very fortunate in my first year in the league to have older presences around me as teammates that made it, more comfortable for me. I think the hardest thing would be for a kid that's playing for his dad is maybe his peers. So I was very fortunate to have guys like Ryan Sparling and Alex Grant, kind of guys like those that kind of took me under their wing and made sure that I felt just like one of the guys, not like I was kind of like the coach's son.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a hard kind of stigma to play around, but like you said, having those other figures there definitely helps. I want to talk about your rookie season, 2008, 2009. Any memories of that season that stick out? That I mean, any sort of coming out moment that you felt like, okay, I belong in this league. I'm here to play.
Well, I scored home opener, so I mean,
There you go.
that was a good way that was a good way to start it off. No, it was just like every kid growing up dreams of playing junior hockey, and once you're finally there, you just kind of you realize it's everything you wanted it to be, and I just loved being a part of a tight knit group, and you ask any pro, I guarantee you they'll tell you that junior hockey was some of the best times of their life. Not necessarily because of the school and stuff, but it's the memories you make at the rink, and you're always with guys your age for 4 years. Once you turn pro, it changes. There's age gaps of 10 to 15 years, so that was probably the most memorable moments of that.
And then flash forward to the year after, you guys made a pretty big leap. You find yourself in the finals. You're playing against Moncton as a guy who's now been in St. John for a couple of years. You obviously felt the rivalry with the Wildcats. Did you guys feel that pressure in the Battle of New Brunswick and it being the first finals for the Sea Dogs?
Yeah, that was probably the most important year, just going that far. It was kind of unexpected we went that far, and making it that far and then losing in the finals was the best thing I think that happened for us, because we came back so much stronger, and we got so much experience at such a young age that once you go through that whole season and that all the playoffs and then come up short, it just makes you hungrier for next year.
Now, typically on the show, we do a little deep dive on your stats in the queue. So I've got a couple numbers to pull up here. You do rank in the top 10 for a couple different league records. Um, Number two all time in the queue for consecutive games by a D man. I believe that might be a playoff one because you did play right through three finals right in a row. So you ended up playing a ton of playoff games in a row. And then you're number four all time as well as a player on that for consecutive playoff games. And then you're number 10 all time in the queue still for playoff points in a career for a D man. And you're actually tied on that one with Paul. Beaulieu, who was a former D coach with St. John. So a cool little connection there. But
Yeah.
I,
I didn't know either of those things.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I usually pull it AI, and people were like, "Oh, I had no idea I still had that record." But and then Sea Dogs records, you get 12 regular season records, and then 24 playoff records, and then you hold the record for most points by a defenseman in one game. Do you remember that game? It was five.
I know it was 5 assists.
Yeah,
I kind of remember the game, but I everything was just going right for me that
yeah,
night.
yeah.
I couldn't do anything wrong. Could just everyone gets one of those nights.
So it was 2009 against Bathurst. You had 5 points, all assists. But looking at the stats, you only got third star. You only got third star in that game.
Yeah.
They gave it to I think Philly had a hat trick, and then like Huberto had a goal and an assist, and they gave him second star. So you got robbed.
Yeah.
Whoever was working the booth that night, 11
Yeah,
years ago, just know
that's
that
kind of a joke, don't you think? You
a
can't
big
really agree with that one.
a big time joke. Yeah, I pulled up the ball. I was like, how did the guy get 3 stars? Like, and then on to stats. Some of your records are in jeopardy now with the kind of decor that we have in St. John, and one of them was just surpassed by William Villeneuve. Your assist records, and you sent out a nice message. You had on Twitter. You just kind of said, "Hey, Will, like congrats on taking my record from me." How did that kind of come to be? Were you following the team? Was it a Bill that kind of reached out? How did you know about
Yeah,
the
well,
record?
I obviously I don't follow the team as closely as I like because I'm so busy, but I follow on Twitter and stuff, and I saw he broke the record, and I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, they're meant to be broken, so just being on that list with a few guys that even I played with, and it's pretty cool. So I was really happy for him.
Nice. Yeah, 12 records right now. We'll see where that stands in 2 years' time after this kind of core
Yeah,
core grows up. But
I wish him all the best.
me as well. And then 2000 is the last stat one. I promise this is just a math hour, but you had the exact same number of goals and assists in back-to-back years. 12 goals, 33 assists for 45 points. You did it in one less game the year after. But was that on purpose? Did you like the number 45? That seems like wild that you had the exact same amount back-to-back.
No, I didn't even know that honestly. And then I was going to the NHL draft, and I had an interview with Gord Miller, and he said that to me. He said they called me back to back Beaulieu, and I had no idea why. And he told me that stat. I actually had no idea, but I do remember that.
That's hilarious. So, jumping into the 2010-11 Memorial Cup season, obviously the most memorable season of your time in St. John, I would imagine. And the thing that sticks out to me is that core of defensemen, very similar to kind of the core we have now. Gagne, Desprez, Jelena, you guys are all drafted. Like, what do you remember about having that tight knit group that really excelled?
Yeah, we did have a good group. We were put together real well. I mean, I give a lot of credit to Gerard and Mike Kelly. They did a really good job getting big guys and guys that had an experience and could really play around the systems, because we had some really powerful forward unit, and if we couldn't get the puck to them, they couldn't really do their job. So we kind of made their lives easy, and they try to make our lives easy that way. So that was one of the best, I think, decors set up in a long time for sure.
And any memories stick out from that season, the playoffs or the Memorial Cup? Any specific games or moments that you had that you kind of look back on fondly from that season?
Well, actually, I was in St. John not too long ago, a couple months ago now, I guess. But and I got to see Zach Phillips, and the night before I got to see him, there was actually a replay of the Memorial Cup, the final, and I just remember that 2-on-1, him and Hubie, and I saw that, and it still gave me chills because I remember that, like that's when we locked it in. We knew it was over, so that was probably I mean, it was a long year, but the last moment was probably the most memorable.
That's awesome. And that kind of actually brings me into the next couple questions when you had a good tweet out to Devontae Smith-Pelly when the league had put out, hey, we're going to be streaming the different Memorial Cup games, and here's St. John's when they won, and you tweeted at him and asked, are you going to be watching tonight? Because obviously he was he was on that other side. Is that something that kind of carries over? Yeah, I mean, Sam Reinhart, you guys played against in that tournament as well, and DSP. Is that something
Yeah,
that carries over year over year? You kind of
yeah.
hold that over guys?
Well, it's funny because was a Toronto kid, so I grew up in London, not too far, and we always played against each other since we were really young in summer hockey. Our whole lives we've been playing against each other right into that moment, and beating him there was obviously something I'll never forget. And then I got to play with him in Montreal with the Canadians for a year, and World Juniors too. We played together, so we've always seemed to find ourselves with each other or against each other. So I never let him forget what happened. That's for sure.
And you mentioned the World Juniors experience too. You played with Huberto, obviously, but then some future teammates in Brendan Gallagher, Devontae, and then Shifley as well. And any memories of kind of playing with them at the young age, and now seeing them years later?
Yeah, well, obviously, uh, Devo, we talked about. It was great to have Hubie on the team, so just a familiar face kind of coming together. And who's the last guy you said?
Shifley.
Oh, Shife, yeah, obviously. So that was I got a story about that. He during that World Juniors, Devo got hurt, so we were short up front. Brett Connolly got hurt as well. So I actually had played a game on forward Shifley with Shifley and Tanner Pearson. So that was a weird experience for sure.
Had you played forward at all at any sort of competitive level up to that point?
No, not in a very long time. Not like very long time.
And then was that because you were a bit of a goal scoring like offensive defenseman, and they just thought, okay, here's the guy we're
Yeah,
gonna put in?
we had 7D, and I was, probably the most offensive out of all of them. So I think it was kind of the kind of a no brainer because someone had to do it. So it was definitely an interesting experience.
Well, maybe we get to see that again at some point if it comes down to
Well,
that.
don't
Late,
count on
late,
it.
late career switch into forward.
It won't be on Shifley's line, that's
No,
for
no.
sure.
Okay, that's fair. Going into your first career of pro hockey, 2012-13, your rookie season with Hamilton, you end up winning 4 team awards that year, including top defenseman and MVP. What do you remember about that first year playing pro, making that jump? Guys talk about it. They expect it to be different, but it's a world of difference in the speed and size and everything else. What was your first year like in the AHL?
Yeah, it's a difficult experience. Obviously, you're moving out, you're kind of living on your own or with a couple guys, and um, it's a completely different world. It's professional hockey, and you're trying to get better every day to be the guy that gets called up and get a chance to play. But I think it's important for players to go through it. I think it makes you a better player for sure. And you're playing against men right away, so you gotta level up your game, and you got to get a lot stronger before you turn into a pro because you're playing against men. So I learned quickly that you have to change your game and play a different way. But I think it was a good learning experience for me.
And later that season, you make your NHL debut with the Habs. You're drafted the Habs in 2011. Any draft day memories, the days leading up, strange interviews, different things that you remember from that time?
Um, yeah, I mean, the draft was crazy. I just remember, I still remember getting called up to the stage. It was probably one of the highlights of my life, probably. And I kind of knew it was coming. The GM walked past me and kind of winked at me, so I kind of knew what was going on, and got to live it up with my family. And that was probably one of the most memorable moments of my life for sure.
And then at the tail end of that first year in the AHL, you end up making your NHL debut at home at the Bell Center against the Rangers, another Original Six team. That must have been dream come true. Although you were kind of a Toronto area guy, London guy. Did you? I'm guessing you grew up a Leafs fan.
No, 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 no. I was
No.
not a Leafs fan. No,
Oh.
I was a Red Wings fan growing up.
Okay. Okay. Lesser of two
Hated the
evils. That's
Leafs.
fine. As long as you hated the Leafs, then you would have done fine at
Yeah.
the job. But
No, that was probably the next biggest moment making that debut. I remember we won. I think it was 4-0. We won at home. And there's not many things you can describe like playing at the Bell Center. So that was obviously extremely special for me. My whole family got to be there, and um, that was a cool moment playing against. I remember actually too. I used to watch Still in the Nights growing up a lot, and Rick Nash was kind of the big dog in London. That was the first overall pick, came out of there, and I played against him my first NHL game too, so that was pretty
Wow.
cool.
Wow. Was that sort of your eye-opening moment? Like, my God, I'm
Yeah,
in the league now.
yeah,
You look
well,
across and
for
it's
sure,
Rick
that
Nash.
was probably like my big moment. You watch this kid or this man when you're such a at a young age. It's when you get there and finally experience, it's something you'll never forget.
And you've been kind of lucky that you played in Montreal and now with the Jets, two Canadian teams who just have such a passionate following and the atmosphere in those games. I mean, the Jets playoffs games you see, it's the sea of white and they're cheering 2 hours before the game. They're drowning out, music playing. If you had to pick between the two, and obviously you're going to be very biased, and feel free to say Sea Dogs, but between the two atmospheres, I'm guessing you have to lean towards the Jets.
Yeah, and I'm not being biased just because how wild they are here. And I remember being an opponent and always coming to Winnipeg, and it was, especially when you're playing on Montreal, you knew it was going to be rowdy. And getting to experience the playoffs here for the first time last year with the whiteout and the city is it's bone chilling how crazy they are about and passionate about are about hockey here. So not being biased, Winnipeg for sure.
I trust you. Um, Last year, and I was checking out some cool YouTube content around you. You got mic'd up for a game last year against the Islanders. What was that experience like? And did you feel like you were watching what you said? Did you feel like you were maybe chirping a little more than you usually do? You ended up being on the ice, I think, for three different goals, so I got to see you cheer a couple times. But what was that like for a game being mic'd up?
Well, the funny thing is, I actually forgot I had it on. They put it on me right before, and I completely forgot right away. So once I heard the content came out, I was scared because I didn't know what was going to come out of it. But no one likes being mic'd up, especially me. But you got to do it sometimes.
Yeah, I think the first clip they show is you in warm up and you snipe it and you go, kid can shoot, and then you skate it around. So it was good. It was good. You had a couple good one-liners. We talked a little bit briefly just about training camp and your first day back. Was there anyone, the first day of school, that kid looks a little different. Geez, he grew 6 inches. Was there anyone that sort of impressed you or, you could see really put in the work during the off season?
I was actually impressed by everyone, especially today for the first day. Obviously, this is a modified training camp. It's not coming in fitness testing and all this stuff, right? It's how can we get everyone through this healthy and all in one piece, ready for the playoffs. So it's definitely different. But I was extremely impressed by the kind of the pace today. I didn't know what to expect because guys have been off the ice and some guys can get more ice than others, and depending on where you live. But I thought the pace was great today. Everyone looked in great shape, so that's step one, and that's a good start to day one.
Now, play-in series coming up. Flames, Jets, Canadian matchup. You guys have pretty much identical records. What can we expect out of this series?
Uh, I think everyone's searching for that answers. We don't really know what to expect out of anything right now, but one thing is for sure, we'll be prepared. We've known who we're playing for a while. I very high skill level on both sides, especially the top six. So that's something that's going to be looked at, and special teams for sure. Special teams are what win and lose games, and especially in the playoffs. So not many teams win or go deep without having good special teams. So it's gonna be an interesting series for sure.
Now, in doing a dive on your Twitter and finding some different facts and things to bring up, I noted you had a really kind of poignant tweet about a member of the media had pointed out a player and said, hey, this guy does a really good job. He gives actual kind of lengthy, educated responses, regardless of a win or loss, even if he probably doesn't want to talk to media right now, but he takes the time and kind of does that side of the job in talking with media. And you were pretty appreciative of that. You said, "I'm glad this gets recognized." A lot of people don't realize that it's not easy to have those interviews. what's maybe one thing that you wish members of the media realize when they're interviewing players?
Um, that's a difficult question because you have to understand that they have a job too. So if you're going to ask me a question right now, or you're going to ask me a question over a overtime loss, you're probably going to get a different answer. But their question doesn't really need to change, right? So it's difficult. I think players and coaches just appreciate people that ask um, educated questions, more or less questions of not why or why did this happen or how come this didn't happen. More of a a perspective of a educated question that you can actually think about and answer instead of walking up and knowing every question that they're going to ask, and that just boils you inside. So I definitely learned how to handle the media a lot better going into Montreal right away.
I would imagine,
If you
yeah.
don't, you'll get eaten alive. So I've been exposed to it. So it's nothing. It's tough to teach it. It's just something that you have to kind of have experience with, I guess.
I'm now going back to the last 20 minutes of questions I asked. Just, oh God, what did I ask?
No.
This isn't exactly, an overtime loss scenario. So
Yeah, no, there's
let's
no
do
turnout.
that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, that's going to wrap up just the kind of hockey, your life story questions. Before we get into the lightning round, I'll just give you kind of carte blanche if there's any shout outs you want to do. Thank yous. Hey, I'm streaming something. I got a charity event coming up. Anything you want to get out there, now is the time.
Well, the only thing I could say is my fiance started a swimsuit line. So I'm just trying to put the word out there. It's called Fin and Fia. You can check it out online. I put it on my Twitter. Best bathing suits around for men and women. So it's up and coming. Get your hands on it now.
And how much did you have to pay Carol Saint Laurent to model the swimsuit in that one news piece he did?
He had to pay me. No, I'm just kidding. Carell's very supportive.
Perfect.
Appreciate it.
It's a good guy. Good guy. We'll get him on the show here eventually. Well, if you're ready, we will get into the lightning round. The lightning round, it's 10 questions. We're looking for honesty is the key. Speed is the second most important thing. In the history of Monday Night Mike, no one has passed on a question, so keep that in mind. No one has passed, including, Mike Thomas. We asked him some tough questions. Sam Duffin falls on last week. No passes so far, so take that into consideration. First question I will ask, it's the humble test. How many points did you have in your QMJHL career?
200.
200.
No, that can't be right. 150?
200 is actually bang on for regular season and playoffs. So if
I thought we were including that.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were just saying regular season. I was like, wow, he's 48 points over. That's the biggest fail on the humble test we've seen. You nailed it. 200 points. Exactly. You're gonna get a bonus point out of that. That was worth 2 points. Very
now
impressive.
I look like I just knew that.
Yeah, instead of being humble, you just look like a psychopath who knows every one of his stats. Number 2, you've been trying to learn how to play guitar during quarantine. What's the one song you wish you could play? If you just picked up the guitar right now, you wish you could just, God, I wish I could play that one song.
Okay, that's a tough one because I like music. I like saying putting a Post Malone into an acoustic version.
Nice.
Something like that. So maybe 92 Explorer. That's something I've been I was looking at it quickly, but I'm not in my full guitar mode right now.
That's fine. That's fine.
So I can't play anything. Is the answer.
Post Malone 92 Explorer. Okay, we'll take that. Number 3. This is the Bills question. You noticed my Josh Allen jersey there behind me. Big Bills fan. During your time in Buffalo, did you partake in Bills Mafia at all? Did you make it out to any Bills games?
Yes, I made it to I think 4 or 5 Bills games. Got to see Tom Brady twice too.
Oh wow! And I imagine Buffalo won both those games easily. So you'll get 5 bonus points there for the Bills question. That's perfect. You're just crushing this so far. I'm glad you brought this up about Fin and Fia. Number 4, can you send me some Fin trunks, preferably like a triple XL?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. I'll have my people send your people my address.
Okay.
Big bonus points there. Easily 3. 5. So you played for the Vitos. You played in St. John many years. KV guy as well. Your favorite dish at Vitos?
Oh, pizza.
Pizza. What are you getting on the
The
pizza?
works.
The works. I saw in
The
another
works.
Q&A you said pineapple does belong on pizza. Is that like a typical thing for you, or just like the
I
odd if
put
it
anything on pizza.
anything on pizza? Okay. You don't discriminate against
Oh,
any
pizza's pizza to me.
pizza's pizza. How's the Winnipeg pizza scene?
I'm still looking for a staple. Actually, there's a place, but it's not open right now. It's called Gusto Pizza.
Hmm.
It's pretty good. That place I went to a few times last year.
Gusto, if you're watching, Nathan needs a sponsorship for pizza. He needs the
Yeah,
best
I think
pie
they sponsor
in
the
the
team
pay.
anyways.
Oh, fantastic. Number 6. It's always kind of said rap stars want to be athletes and athletes want to be rap stars. Who would make the best rapper out of all the athletes that you know? Who would be able to cross over into that world and become a rapper? And the inverse of that, which rapper do you think would make the best hockey player?
Uh, do I have to know the athlete or just
No,
the
you can
athlete?
just like it's well known in circles. Like that guy's actually a pretty good rapper.
Um, Jeez, you got me on this one. I'm not going to answer for speed on this one.
That's fine.
Um, I'd have to go like I don't know. Um, Jeez, I'm gonna be the first person to pass.
Oh, you're pass on the full question, or just the player who would be the best rapper? You can just say yourself. You can just say yourself that you would be the
Okay,
best rapper.
I'll just go with me, so I don't have to pass.
And
Um,
then what rapper do you think would make the best hockey player?
that's a tough one I'm thinking about.
I know Classified actually skates and plays in like a men's pickup league. He performed in St.
Does
John.
he?
He actually looked
Oh,
pretty good out there.
he's from the East Coast too,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly.
Okay, can I go with classified?
100%. I
Sold.
spoon fed you
There
that one
we
a little
go.
bit, but we'll count it. We'll count it. 1 point.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
from Nova Scotia, right?
exactly, exactly. Enfield, just outside of Halifax. Number 7. You guys won a couple cups in St. John. They make the rounds, usually tours around to the different guys. There's parties, etc. Who would you point to who dropped or damaged the cups the most? Not intentionally, like threw it into a pool or anything, but like who was Butterfingers when it came to the cups? Like, oh man, that guy dropped it multiple times.
um, I'm gonna go with Stephen McCauley, maybe. Just not on his fault. He just seems like he has bad luck like that. It would just break for no reason.
Fantastic. Number 8, more current one for the Jets. It's Game 5 of the play-in. It's overtime versus the Flames. Who's getting the winning goal?
Me.
Fantastic. That's huge bonus
I
points.
love that.
I'm just glad you said a Jets. I was going to be really concerned if you put
Oh yeah.
Johnny Gaudreau, definitely. He's going to score. uh,
I hope it be anyone counts, but
exactly. Number 9, you had a good tweet out during the Hall of Fame for Mike Thomas when him, Ryan Sparling, Kirkpatrick, Stephen Anthony were all on stage kind of telling old war stories about Mike Thomas, and you said, what a crew that is. Who would be your crew in telling old war stories on stage about Nathan Beaulieu? Who would be your
oh,
four-man crew, including yourself? So
I
pick
couldn't say
three
four.
guys.
There. I can't do that. I'd feel too bad
Not
after
not
this.
not
There's
so
too many
much
guys.
not so much like your best friends or anything, but like who would have the best stories about you and be able to tell the best stories. Like Ryan Sparling there was like a Rhodes
Yeah,
Scholar
me and
orator during
Spar are
that. But
pretty or close still. Spar and Kirky for sure would have a lot of stories about me. Zach Phillips probably has the most. Um,
that's a good three-man team
I'll
right
go
there.
with them. I'll go with them,
Perfect,
but
perfect.
I'm leaving a lot of guys out.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll get dirt from them anyway. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
And then finally, number 10. If and this is funny because you brought up, you had to play a forward during a game with the World Juniors. Everyone on the 2011 team switches places. We're excluding goalies on this. So all the defensemen become forwards. All the forwards become defensemen. Who would the best forward be, and who would the best defenseman be if everyone had to switch position?
Um, from the Jets.
No, sorry, that from the
Correct
20
me?
from the 2011 team, the Memorial
Oh,
Cup. Yeah, Sea
oh,
Dogs
okay.
team. Yep.
Oh,
And feel free to say yourself.
Zach Phillips would have been the worst defenseman. I can tell you that. So not him. um,
We'll go in reverse order, starting with the worst.
yeah, I'll put. I don't know. I don't know if Tomer can skate backwards, but I think he'd be intimidating and come down against. So I'll just go with him.
Perfect.
And I got to give it to Kevin Gagne up front. He could fly, so I think he would be a good forward.
Fantastic. Well, that does all 10 questions. I'll tally it up. You have the bonus points there for Buffalo. You nailed the score dead on. You waffled a little on the rap stars, but we'll give you that one. I'd say like a solid like 14 points here. That's that
Wow,
you
that's
crush
good.
the all-time record. I believe it was 9 before this. That definitely qualifies you for the Tournament of Champions we hold at the end of the year. We bring back everyone for the lightning round who had the highest scores, and they'll compete. That's not a real thing, so don't worry about it. And yeah, you're the current reigning lightning round champion. Any words?
No, just thanks for doing this. I wish all the guys in St. John good luck this year.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know everything's pretty hectic right now with getting back into play, but good luck to you in the play-in series, and good luck to the Jets on a long playoff run.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nathan.
Go Dogs.
That was Nathan Beaulieu. Everyone, be sure to tweet at him with any comments, additional questions you may have. I did receive a note from team photographer Mike Hawkins, who's actually from Manitoba. He's a diehard Jets fan, and he sent a couple recommendations for pizza, not so much in Winnipeg, but the Thompson area that he calls the hub of the North. And he says, if you're in Thompson, go to Santa Maria Pizza. It's the best pizza on the planet, and it's totally worth the 8-hour drive from Winnipeg. So good tips from our photographer. He knows photos, but he also knows good food. So check that place out if you're in the area. Guys, as well, we want to hear who you want to see on upcoming shows. Nathan Beaulieu was a big one that took 3 weeks to get that all lined up, but we're so happy to have him, and we wish him the best of luck in the play-in series. And we know he's going to do excellent against the Flames, and we hope for a deep run for the Jets. We do have an interview with Anderson MacDonald coming up in just a few moments. Guys, send in your feedback, questions, comments, who you want to see on upcoming shows. We want to hear from you. I believe we're ready. It's going to be our interview with Anderson MacDonald. Fans, it's my pleasure to now welcome to the show number 34 of your St. John Sea Dogs, Anderson MacDonald. Anderson, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, you're a local guy. I don't know exactly how far you live from me, but I imagine it's pretty close. So I'm sure we've had a very similar quarantine experience, although you've probably been working out substantially more than I have. But how has your quarantine experience been? How's the off season been for you so far?
A little bit different for sure. Workout's going good though. Getting a little golf in, doing some stuff that I can do. So that's been good. But it's definitely been a different experience.
For sure. And I want to go back to earlier in January, where your season took a change for the better, I'll say, when you found out that you got traded to St. John. Can you talk about kind of that moment, how that happened, where you were when you found out, and kind of what that was like to kind of come home?
Yeah, it was definitely one of the better experiences of my life to be able to come home and play for my hometown team and be a part of this organization. It's been
Another day at the office, eh?
yeah, another day at the office, exactly. Not off, sorry.
No one important. They can't be
No
any more
one.
important than this show.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, but definitely been a great experience being on the team, and I love being home and love playing at home, and fortunately it was cut short, but hopefully we can get things started back up again and have a good year this year.
And how did you feel about that kind of half season? You said it got cut short, obviously, and we had big playoff hopes and finally clinched a spot first time in 3 years. How did you feel about that half season with the team, about your performance particularly?
I thought it was good. I thought I was getting back into a rhythm. Finally got gelled with the team after a couple months, and yeah, and just very unfortunate that we had to get it cut short because I thought we were building really well as a team, and going into the playoffs, I thought we were going to have a good chance of going places there. So it was definitely very unfortunate.
And you had the chance as well to play with some pretty stellar young talent, whether it was on your line or on the power play. Is there anyone in particular that kind of stuck out that you felt you really gelled with, that you felt, maybe going into the playoffs that was going to be maybe your line mates or your guy that you were going to have a lot of success with?
Yeah. Well, our power play was heating up there towards the end, and there's a bunch of guys that I was working well with, and it was just, I think everyone was gelling on the team. Everyone was we were bonding together a lot. So I wouldn't say there's one or two guys. I think it was more like the whole team. We were all bonding together, and we were all gelling together. So it was very exciting to be part of, and I'm assuming it was pretty exciting to watch.
That's a classic team guy reply, so we like that answer. That was a test. It wasn't a test. I want to go back to that game in February. You're playing your former team, Bathurst. We're at home Sunday afternoon. It's a kind of back and forth game. They end up tying it late, and we really needed those 2 points in the playoff push. And you got to play the hero with the big bomb from the point. You score 4 seconds left on the clock, win the game at home. Can you talk about that experience and kind of what that was like, the high you were riding probably the next week, I would imagine, after that?
Yeah, that was probably the best goal I've scored in my career for sure. The circumstances were unbelievable at home in front of my friends and family and all the fans of St. John, and winning the game. That was the main thing, getting the 2 points, and it was definitely a very, very good experience. And I try to look back at it sometimes and watch the video and just like couldn't even remember going by the bench. It was just crazy. I didn't even know how I was feeling.
No, that was, for me, that was the highlight of the season, was that game and the reaction from the crowd and everything, and just seeing how happy the whole team was, but you in particular, and what a weight that must have been off your shoulders to kind of get the big one against a former team. So that was excellent to see.
Yeah.
Heading into this next season, and we're hopeful the league is kind of said the October 1st start date is the goal right now, and we're hopeful that that's going to happen. But personally, what are your goals? I mean, the big year for the team as we go into these next 2-3 years. This will be your last year in the queue as a 20-year-old. But what are your goals going into your 20-year-old season?
Yeah, I just I want to have a great off season now and keep pushing, working harder, getting faster and stronger. Go to camp and work with the guys and make the team and be on the team and have a good year, because I think we're gonna impress a lot of people this year. The team is looking really good, and I think we can go pretty far. I know we got a lot of new guys coming in, and I think it's gonna be a really fun season.
Fun season.
If we get it started, hopefully we do.
Fingers
we'll
crossed.
See what happens. Yeah.
All right. Well, I was torturing you all week, last week leading up to today, with different games and things we could play. You said you were a pretty good washer toss player, but I didn't really see how that was going to work digitally. I thought about maybe showing up at your house and we could tape it live.
Play a little washer toss.
Yeah. All of your skills were athletic ones that I didn't. That you would just show me up. So I picked something that was more in my realm. So I do have a fun little game here. It's a rank 'em. So I've got what do we have here? 10 hockey movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'll list them off here as I have them listed. We got Goon, The Mighty Ducks, MVP, which is Most Valuable Primate, Mighty Ducks 2, Miracle, Slapshot, Mystery Alaska, Mighty Ducks 3, Sudden Death, and Happy Gilmore. Are you familiar with most of those films?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So we're going to get your power rankings 1 through 5. If you want to give your thoughts on each one, maybe which ones immediately are off the list, we can cross those ones off. But any of those that immediately you're like, I've never seen that movie, get out of
here. The second last one you said.
Sudden Death.
Sudden Death. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that. I don't know for sure. I might have, but it doesn't ring a bell.
It's like a mid-'90s action movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme where someone is planted a bomb at a Pittsburgh Penguins playoff game. And he's responsible for trying to find the bomb. But the movie culminates, and I'll spoil it now, it culminates with him playing as a goalie in the game. It's absolutely ludicrous. Definitely go check it out.
I might have to give that a go.
I don't think it's on Netflix, but we'll take out Sudden
Death. We'll have to figure that one out. Yeah.
Any others that like don't make your list here before we get into the top 5?
For the top 5,
Mystery Alaska, Mighty Ducks 1, 2, and 3, MVP. I don't know if that's a big one for you. But
I used to watch that as a kid so much. I loved it.
Can't
The
say I've
monkey
ever seen
playing
that one.
around hockey. I loved it. It's awesome.
It was the Air Bud of the hockey
Yeah, the
world.
airbud of hockey. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'd start off for my number one.
Why don't we go? Why don't we go reverse order? And
We'll go reverse order?
Okay, yeah. Number 5. What are you putting in the 5 slot?
My spot. The original Mighty Ducks, the first one.
Mighty Ducks, the first one. Here we go. The technology is real. Boom, Mighty Ducks, number 5, slotted in. This is big. I thought that was gonna be like top. For me, that's like the biggest all time. I think you may have been a little too young to kind of feel the impact when that came out, but
yeah, I was a bit too young, but I watched it a few times. I do like that whole series, but I think I've got a few more.
I mean, I have an inkling of what your number 1 is going to be, but.
Oh, do you?
All right, number 4. Number 4.
Number 4, I would go. I'd probably, because I watched it so much as a kid, I'd probably go MVP. Just because I watched it so much as a kid.
Can't say I've seen that one, but now I'm gonna have to watch it.
Oh, it's hilarious. I love it.
Any skills you maybe took from his play that you implemented into your own game?
I'd say he's a little bit smaller than I am. He's more of a Brady Burns type guy. All the skill and small, get around everybody.
Wow.
I don't know if that's my style of playing, but that's yeah. I don't. Maybe the hands. He's got pretty good hands.
Pretty good hands. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3. What do we got?
Number 3, I'm gonna go with Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore. Okay, that's what I had pegged for number 1. I mean, hockey movie is pretty loose
hockey
there.
Movie, yeah, but I'm a huge golf fan too, so the mixture of the both, and I'm an Adam Sandler fan, so that's definitely what
I thought for sure that was number 1.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, I think I know what's number 1 too now, but give it. What do you got? What do you got number 2 here?
Number 2, I'm gonna go with Miracle.
Miracle, yeah.
From just the storyline and the movie, it's just incredible. I love it.
Out of all of them, and I'm not too familiar with Mystery Alaska, but that does star Russell Crowe, so obviously it has some legitimacy to it. But Miracle, I'd say, is the best movie out of all of these. It's just
exactly. Yeah.
An actual film. It's probably the best.
Actual film. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And your number 1.
My number 1. Well, this one would be Mystery Alaska.
Mystery Alaska, really? Okay.
Yeah, and the reason behind it is when I was younger, I'd go up to my grandfather's camp, and he had the little put it in the VCR thing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel ancient, but thank you. Go on.
Yeah. So I he always had that, and I'd always go out ever since I was a little kid, and every time I got there, I'd throw it in and watch it. So it might have been a little too old for me when I was younger.
Yeah.
Due to some of the stuff in the movie, but that was one thing I did every time I went up there is I'd throw that movie on.
Well, now I got to go watch Mystery Alaska.
You've never seen it?
No, I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's a must.
Big snub to Goon too. Goon's a personal favorite.
Goon's a good one.
That's a good one.
Slapshot too.
Slapshot too.
Yeah.
Mighty Ducks 2 and 3 also just ludicrously fun.
Yeah.
Number 2,
they're all good. It's hard
they're
to
all good.
They're all good. I like them all.
It's a tough game. Personally, I like Mighty Ducks 2 because they face off against Iceland in the finals, the great hockey powerhouse that is Iceland. So at the Junior Goodwill Games, if you were familiar with that film. Well, there's the power rankings: Mystery Alaska, Miracle, Happy Gilmore, MVP, and the Mighty Ducks. Ducks fly together. Anderson, thank you so much for that rankings. Any last shout outs? Anything you got going on you need people to know about? Streaming Fortnite, anything like that we need to
streaming Fortnite?
we need to watch?
No Fortnite. Just not really much going on. Just trying to get by in this weird circumstances and get all the training I can in.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing you at training camp, and best of luck in the upcoming season.
Thank you very much.
That was Anderson MacDonald, number 34 of your St. John Sea Dogs. Guys, that's going to do it for tonight's show. We hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't catch all of it, it's going to be on YouTube here in the next 24 hours or so. We'll be putting out kind of the best highlights, best clips from tonight's show on our social media channels. Let us know which one we should clip out and highlight on Instagram, Twitter, etc. Next week's guest, I got to keep a secret because, frankly, I don't know who it is right now. My producer hasn't told me yet who we have lined up, but we have 5 or 6 guys sort of in the chamber who are ready to go. So we will have that, and we'll hear from a current Sea Dog as well. We'll keep that format going with an alumni and a current Sea Dog. So let us know who you'd like to see currently on the team, and we'll be sure to get them on either next week or the week after. Again, send in your comments, questions, feedback. We love to hear from you. Any of our social channels. And that's going to do it for tonight's episode. Thanks to our 2 guests, Anderson MacDonald and Nathan Beaulieu, guys. We will see you next week.